we see, but in their minds they make like their own world. Sometimes not always, but sometimes they have like their own thoughts. This is origin from the Greek root schism, that it means to split, and friend, that is mind. This term, to split mind or to split personality, is not like accurate for the word schizophrenia, because this is more like splitting of mental functions. Symptoms. Well, the symptoms are false beliefs, unclear or confused thinking, auditory hallucinations, and this is, they don't have like hallucinations like visual, they don't see things. Well, yes, but this is more focused on they hear things or people that, well, they think people is telling them to do something or some ideas. Other symptoms are reduced social engagements and emotional expression, because your brain is damaged, so they have problems on thinking and speaking. They cannot make like concrete ideas, so they have that problem. And delusions. They have like persecutory delusions. They think someone wants to hurt them, and that is persecuting them. Well, the causes could be genetic or environmental. The generic causes are hereditary causes, because if you have a first degree relative, like for example, if your parent had schizophrenia, you have 13% to have schizophrenia too. But if your parents or your mother, your father or mother have schizophrenia, you have 50% to have schizophrenia. But the real problem is the environment, because, for example, your parents had schizophrenia, so you have like the seed of schizophrenia, but it depends on the environment. For example, if you had a trauma in your childhood or a very stressed childhood, the schizophrenia will develop more than if you have like a normal childhood. Other environmental problems, well, causes are drugs, because drugs make you addictive and dependent. So if you don't have like your drug, you will be stressed, and you cannot have like concrete goals. And living in urban environment is also a cause, because of stress of the city. The mechanisms. Well, the psychological mechanism is to calm down. These people need to be calmed down like most of the time. They cannot, because it's impossible almost in the city, but they have to try to be calmed down in the most time they could. And they need to avoid stress and risk situation, because these people can explode with a little stress and risk situation. They are like, you cannot know how they're going to react in the situation. The neurological mechanism, well, scientists and psychologists have discovered that in the frontal lobe and the hippocampus and temporal lobe, there are problems. In the frontal lobe, that is in charge of movement, solving problems, planning. There's a problem like that. In the brain, they have discovered that the shape and the volume is smaller in this kind of people. The hippocampus is in charge of memory, the temporal lobe of like temporal memory, like visual memory, and of emotions. Diagnosis and prevention. The diagnosis is made when they show the symptoms, and also when the patient tells and starts telling their story. Also knowing the antecedents help a lot to know if these people have a high level or a low level of schizophrenia. It's very difficult to prevent this, because sometimes you don't know if these people have a problem or not. But they need to avoid any kind of drugs. As I said before, drugs are a very crucial factor here. you don't need to use them, but some people use them in order to avoid their problems. So that's when they fall into the addiction. Society. Well, these people could react in very violent acts. They could commit suicide or homicide. As I said before, these people can explode with every single situation, a risk situation or stress situation. You do not know how they're going to react. This depends a lot too on the medication they are giving to them. To treat the schizophrenic people, they use antipsychotic medication, and they also make them to do like social helping. What's schizophrenia? Well, I choose this topic because I had a friend that his father had schizophrenia. This friend, his family was having economic problems, and one night his father could not deal with the stress, and he killed his mother and his sister, and he tried to commit suicide, but he couldn't. So that's why I chose this topic. Also because they are saying that our generation, we are schizophrenic we're schizophrenics, and they say that it's because of the social media that we're having, because of all the stress we are dealing with every day. Well, that's it. Questions?
What age range? What's the age range where this is more common? Early stages of your life, or when you are an adult?
No,
or
where you are in adolescence, for example, well, mostly you start showing the symptoms when you're like our age, like 17, because when you're a kid, you like have the stress factor, but you do not develop because you are very little. But as you are growing, your brain starts developing, so you start showing the symptoms.